Okay, so let's just warm up by turning. Yeah, and just, just feel the turning. So when we turn, we're introducing a movement that riding horse is normally trying to cut out. So riding horse is normally very statuesque and very much sort of in the middle and facing front. And so turning, we're just introducing something completely contrary to that. Okay, and then just back to here. So just feel that swirling. So it's almost like you're appearing out of a mist. Your solidity and your stillness is sort of condensing out of this swirling. Okay, and now let's just try this. So it's just an exchange, really. So we're drawing energy to ourselves and giving some of our own back. Okay, and now let's try some. Okay, and now, now just remember this one. Yeah, so remember, whenever we move, we're trying to feel the stillness. And whenever we're still, we're trying to feel the movement. So the stillness is like an equilibrium. So when my hands go up here, something in me must be going down to maintain a balance of stillness. Ooh. Yeah, so it's the pushing the hands up that actually extends your root down into the ground from your feet. So here. Ooh. So our lines are always open both ends. Yeah. So here the line is going up, but the line must also be going down, contrary to that. Otherwise it would be forceful. Yeah, so when we start an exercise, we're using our own effort, movement, to generate movement in the energy. And it should get to the point where it becomes the energy that's moving you. So something is lifting here, my hands are just following that because it's sort of established. So what do I need to do with my spirit to make my hands go out and draw something into the heart? Because that's basically what yielding is. Yielding is just reaching out and bringing something into yourself. And that has to be in the spirit. Otherwise it will all be too slow and it won't be sincere. Yeah, so this ability to make containers is partly the structure of our body that enables us to do that. But it's also something in the spirit, and the natural human spirit, that just wants to reach out into the unknown and beckon something in. So it's like the shape of the spirit. So as the arms come up, just feel the increased pressure on the feet. So something is happening in the feet and the legs to bring the energy for this lift. And then the same thing here. And then there should almost be the feeling that you can just press the ground a little bit firmer with your feet, and that will start the arms lifting. Yeah, so here I want my arms to come up. So if I just press down, I sink down into the ground. One more. And Okay, great. Okay, so now let's just loosen the feet on the ground. Again, just trying to get the feet like hands, like they're gripping, or kneading, like they're kneading bread. Okay, so just imagine you've got a big surface here with a big lump of dough, bread, and you've got to sort of knead it. Yeah. So if you really were getting into it, then you'd actually bring your shoulders into it. You know, it would be this sort of thing. Yeah. It would be really heaving from the heart and the chest. Yeah. Like this. So let's just try that a little bit. So it's like yeah. So there's something coming over from your back, over your shoulders, down into the hands. And that's like giving it extra oomph. Yeah. So if you were just doing this, then you'd be making pastry. You wouldn't be making bread. Yeah. For bread, you need muscle. Yeah. And so you go over, and then if you get alternate, then obviously you can get more shoulder in. Yeah. So 1, 2, and just feel the anchor that you need on the ground with your foot in order to get real strength in this action. Yes, there's a lot of shoulder. That's it. That's it. Yeah, and it's natural. I mean, it's if you really had the thing there, it's sort of like 20 kilos of dough in front of you, and you had to knead it to death or knead it to life. And it would be enjoyable, you know, because dough gives something back. It's got a spring in it from all the gluten. So it's giving back energy all the time that you work it. And so it's enjoyable. Both together again. So that's it. That's it. So you're really getting them back into it. Remember when we were kids? Doing some physical work, and my dad would always say, "Put your back into it, lad." Yeah. That's it. And now let's just let it calm down. Yeah, so when we come back to like a still place, we're just allowing the resonance of what's just happened to sort of just settle into us, so internalizing something rather than just letting something slowly dissipate. We're really drawing that, the quality of that energy and the quality of that spirit into our guts, if you like. Okay, now let's try the same thing, but with the feet, like we were doing. But the shoulder, you know, when the shoulders were coming in like this, you've got to somehow get the hips in as well. It's almost like you've got two big, strong hips, like you've got strong shoulders. And so you're grabbing the ground with the foot, yeah. So it's got, so the shoulder, the hips feel really big, same way that the shoulders do. So that's it. And so you're really, you can, it almost feels like you're digging something up, like you're going down and drawing something up. So this is a very important action for making exchange with the ground. So it's a real, like a workman, just like a workman digging the ground like a farmer, going in and dragging something up. But this feeling that the hips are really strong. So the place where your leg comes into the upper body, that's really well developed. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Try not to rise up when you lift the foot up. You can tilt over, but just don't let this happen, yeah? So one foot is lifting the ground. That's the point where the other foot is digging down into the ground so that it can lift next. So these are two actions which belong together. And you just become this digging machine, like a rotavator or something, just churning over the ground. And then you really feel that this is the center of your body, yeah? And your head is almost trying to crouch down into it. That's it, that's it. Okay, and now let's just bring it back. That's nice. So just think of the heart shape. You know, the heart shape is like this. So the two lobes of the top of the heart. So you can think of the shoulders as being like them. So you've got like a big heart here, yeah? But then you've also got like a big heart here in the legs. So the hips are like the two lobes of a big heart, and the shoulders as well. And then here it would be the, you know, what John called the horns. So this feeling that you've got a heart here as well with these two lobes here. It's like, you know, when you come across someone that does like laboring work or physical work, and they just do it very well, and they're just not in their head. They're not head people generally, yeah. So they're just in their body, and there's a and just watching them work for me is like the greatest gift, because they're just being, there's a real graciousness and grace to their movement and their engagement with the activity. So that's what we would like. So each of these exercises is not just something that you're putting yourself through to get fit. You're making something. Like you're making a cabinet, or you're making something that's, you know, a container for energy. Okay. And now let's just go from leg to leg, but with a turn. So I'm coming into this leg, and then I'm just moving. Don't worry too much about how you get there. What we want to feel is as I fill the foot up. So as I'm filling the foot up, I am bringing my weight in this direction, and the ground is actually countering that. Yeah. So as you're moving into the foot, the ground is coming up through that movement into the opposite hand, so cross energy. So as I sink into this leg, something comes up and through. Yeah. So this requires the posture to be good. So it's not leaning. If I'm sort of leaning like this, then my weight will come over it, but there's not necessarily anything will come up into this hand. Yeah? So as I just turn and sink and just keep myself vertical, what I want to feel is that as I'm moving in this direction, I'm being pushed back in the opposite direction by something that's coming up through me. Yeah? And so turning here, turn, something comes up the leg and into the opposite hand. And then here, ooh. So it's basically just the turning exercise that we started with, but just really slowing it down. So I turn. Yeah, so this hand is pushing from this leg, and then this hand becomes the hand that gathers the energy from the other leg. Yeah? So as I turn back, this hand is connecting with this foot and just drawing the energy up, or helping the energy, or helping me visualize the energy coming up. Yeah? So I have to be careful where this is. If I let this go too far this way, then I've lost the balance, I've lost the equilibrium. So the sacrum really does stay sort of hovering in the middle. So the hand grabs the foot, draws the energy up, across the back and into this hand. And then one. That's it. So you just need that sort of compassionate mind, that mind that can see both sides of the argument. So it can feel where the weight is going, but it can also feel the energy coming up against it. That's it. So it's very much not throwing your weight around. It's really just relaxing and turning. The turning is where the effort is really. Yeah, so you've got to relax the weight down, but you've also got to relax the energy up. So it's quite tricky. Yeah, and if you just catch one, then it will just be, it won't sustain itself. So here, this is scooping the energy up from the ground. And it cuts into this hand and then here. Whoa. That's it. And just feel how, to maintain equilibrium, it really does require a good posture. If you're sloppy with the posture, it's normally an indication that you've put too much emphasis on one side of the coin. Okay, right. So now let's just bring it back to so we know the body is very much a cross, yeah? So the energy here comes here, the energy here comes here. So, and the center of the cross is, the sacrum. Also all these hearts, so you've got these big meaty hips, these big strong shoulders, and these big horns. Yeah, so there's something in you that's sort of opening up in order to swallow. So it's very much like a mouth. It's a wah, and then the teeth reaching around the food. So that's basically yielding, but it's also just life, really. It's just, you know, how one proceeds. If you're going at life with any sort of enthusiasm, yeah, if you're just flat and just letting it happen, then there's no spirit. But you know, it's like a good student, you know, when you're there in the class and someone is looking at you wide-eyed and thinking everything that you're saying is amazing. It sort of stimulates you to sort of stimulate stuff to come out. Yeah, you don't get it very often here. So this sense that they're eager, there's like an eagerness, yeah? And so that they're sort of willing you with their enthusiasm to actually give them something. And so that's the way we'd like to be, you know, when we're standing, it's not just this sort of flat, here I am, it's this, you know, sense of wonder, yeah? That's basically what spirit is. Spirit is just a sense of wonder. Yes, as John would say, nothing gets you down. Yeah. So everything is, everything is of use. Okay. And now let's just let's just try the first posture in the form, yeah? So ward off left. And just feel that enveloping that comes from this, your spirit being greedy for, you know, experience and life and everything. Yeah. Okay, so in its simplest form, so, you know, ward off left, got the weight here. Yeah. So it's just turning, bringing the weight into this foot, stepping, and then, yeah, so that's basically how we learned it. Yeah. So that's its flat, spiritless version, what John would call shitless. Yeah. So I turn, I move the weight, I step, and then I turn into the attack. So 1, 2, yeah. So basically just 2 waist turns, yeah. One that is turning to let the person through, and then one that is turning back to face them in order to apply your energy. Yeah. So I turn away from the person. I transfer my weight, keeping my waist where it was. I step, and then I turn towards the person and use that to bring my arm up. Okay. And then we added, remember we added another waist turn at the beginning so that we could enter the other person. So instead of just starting by turning away, which assumes that you're at that point in the exchange when the other person has already started to attack and is coming in, you basically start a little bit sooner. So you turn this way to send your hand out. either to reach the person sooner, or as, if you like a lure that's going to tempt them to come in. Yeah. So I send my hand out, and then I turn, and then everything else is the same, remember? So I turn one way, I turn the other, and yeah. Okay, now, you remember when we used to do it? And it was always like, why would you bring the weight here when the person has come through here? Because you just bang into them. So there was always this feeling that you'd want to remove that foot out of the way. Okay, now we want to use that weight transfer, not just as something that we have to do in order to step with the left foot, but as something that actually makes the yield more potent. Yeah. So I turn this way, and then this way, and then it's this action of actually moving into that foot that is the embrace, if you like, because yielding isn't just getting out of the way of the other person. It's turning to make a hole, which they then start coming into. But you finish the yield by embracing them, by encapsulating them. Yeah, so you have to throw your energy around them. So you're not like the bullfighter who just basically gets out of the way of the bull, because the bull is so big and strong and powerful, he can't compete with it man to man. But so you reach forwards and here, and then it's this surge. That's the important part of the posture. And then the attack just bounces out of that. Yeah, so this is what we want to try and feel, for want of anything else to do. Okay, so I reach forwards and then I turn. So just think in terms of just making a hole. You're turning not to get out of the way, to create a path through for the other person, but you're creating this really broad curved surface that the other person is going to roll off and become all bundled up. Yeah, so you're bundling up their energy. Yeah, so first of all, I have to use my spirit to catch them. Yeah, so that requires me to reach forwards, and then I yield. And this part, the coming into this foot, is really just swallowing them up, and then this is spitting them out. Yeah. So one hand. Yeah, so those are the important parts in the form, because that's where your spirit gets transformed. That's where you have to really bring spirit in to sort of shift the reality. Yeah. So it's no longer like a normal. It's like you've come together with the other person. Okay, so now let's try doing a few on the other side. So just exactly the same, just for balance. So I just reach forwards and I turn, and then here I just grab. So I'm using the other person as something that you're sort of pulling. You're pulling on them to move yourself. Yeah, a bit like the monkey swinging through the trees. So 1, 2, and and you just really want to feel, what happens with your spirit as you swallow them. Yeah. So you really do. You become whoa. Yeah. So it just expands, and then really stretch that and slow it down. so that you can sort of work on it. Yeah. So one and then and it's the same thing in the attack. So, so whenever you let your energy out, it's always got that sort of quality. Yeah? You're letting something out, but you're thinking of the return all the time. What am I going to reel in? It's like fishing. Yeah? What's going to come back to me? Yeah? Okay, so 1, 2, yeah. So that movement into that foot is absolutely vital, because without it, it would be back foot. It would be back foot energy. Yeah. So, right. And then just feel that very first bit where we sort of just what John would say is that's the point where you're yielding to the person's spirit. So in a sense, all of the postures, you need 2 yields. Yeah, you need a tiny yield at the very beginning, which is yielding to the person's spirit, and then another yield, which is yielding to their body. Yeah. So here it's like I'm grabbing their spirit, and then their body comes through, and I grab their body, and then I apply my energy. Yeah. So I'm just reaching for their eyes, if you like. You can see they're beginning to lose their temper. Yeah. And fuck you, their fists are tightening. And you just catch that spirit, and then you need to catch the body as well. And then you need to say your bit, return the energy. Okay, so a little yield and a big yield and a big attack and then a little attack. Yeah? So there's all this, they're really balanced. Yeah. And then the next posture, it's really just like a curtailed version, because it's really everything is conflated into just one yield. Yeah, but it's the same idea. Yeah. So as I'm sort of turning this way, I'm facing this way. This is what there are postures where we change direction. Yeah. So from ward off left to ward off right, you're facing here, and then you have to face here. Yeah. Now, there's something very interesting about just turning to face someone that's coming in from a different direction, because that turn, that simple turn of just moving around and seeing something new that's coming at you, that turn is enough to do the yield. You don't need to do anything after that. Yeah. So once you're in ward off left here, yeah, it's really just, you just need to turn and you've yielded. Yeah, to their spirit and to their body. Yeah. So remember, when we used to do this with John, he would always be, a lot of people would just do this. They'd be quite flat with the hands, so they just turn them over like this. He was always really cross, yeah, and he'd sort of say, so it was like you really had to sort of just open everything up in order to really beckon that energy in order to. Yeah, especially on that posture, because it's so little happens at the end there. Okay, let's try just a few on the other side. Okay, so I catch the person's spirit, and then I catch their body, and then something just comes out of that, like an explosion almost. And then here, this is just pulling everything down to earth again, if you think this one here. And then I've just got to turn in this direction, and that will actually make the whole and embrace the person at the same time. And then this swings up and down. And then here. So one of the most important things is just making sure that this doesn't happen here, that this is always trying, sacrum is always trying to get underneath the action of your hands. Yeah. Because then what that does, it just means that the hands have a natural lift. Yeah. So you'll find if you can get this really in the right position, you'll find your form just getting much bigger in the arms. There'll be a lot of, your circles will just be much bigger. Yeah. Which is what we want. Okay, so let's try one more. So just wait here. So just imagine someone's coming in, yeah? And you don't have to think in terms of aggression. You just think in terms of having some human interaction with, you know. So you sort of, it's like acknowledging them, that first yield with your spirit. It's like, ooh. And then, okay, come in. This is like you just welcoming them into your space, your energy. And then this is you just giving something back. And then here, someone's coming, they've almost taken you by surprise. So it's, oh, fuck, yeah. And then here, just trying your best not to lean on the person. Yeah, you're undermining them. And you're undermining them because you're undermining yourself. Yeah. Okay, let's try one more with the other side. Okay, so here, someone's just entered the room, really, and then they decide they want to chat to you, and then you say something back, and this is a bit like your sort of ballast, your sort of anchor, and then here, someone's coming in from over here, and they've almost taken you by surprise. Yeah? So what you don't want is, when you're taken by surprise, what John always used to say, if ever you're in a fight, just pray that you never flinch. Yeah. So what you do, you just, wow, it just fills you with even more wonder because it's so unexpected. And again, this is down. Yeah. So my hands are wanting to do this, but my wisdom, if you like, my body, my well-trained body knows it has to get underneath rather than on top. I have to understand, yeah. Stand under. Okay, so let's just bring it back to attention. Okay, great. Call it a day.